Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Week in the World of Football. This is episode number 242 for May 3rd, 2022. I'm your host, Randy Snow. Today we have a recap of last week's NFL Draft and a look at some of the new rules coming out in the CFL. In this week's history lesson, we tell the story of the Grand Rapids Rampage of the Arena Football League and a roll of toilet paper. But I'm not here by myself, and across the table from me, as always, is my son Adam.
Yeah, very interesting story about that toilet paper. I know that very well.
It's sitting right up there on the shelf.
Yeah, it is. And, the great football weekend, whenever I found time to sit down and watch the draft, I mean, come on, how does a draft of a bunch of guys get more ratings than other leagues' championship games? This is crazy.
Yeah, well, that's the NFL. People will buy anything that they're selling, and this is one of them.
Hopium is in no short supply this time of year for all football fans.
Hopium? Is that what you said?
Hopium, yep. Unless you're a New England Patriots fan and you don't know what the Patriots are doing for the draft.
Yeah.
Or there are a few other teams I think people are scratching their heads at their draft. But on the whole, I think a lot of teams are very optimistic.
And you made the comment the other day that you like the new format of the draft where it's, one round on Thursday night, two rounds on Friday. And I've always gone back to, I liked it best when it was all day Saturday and all day Sunday.
I think because it's been years, because I remember we would waste a whole Saturday watching half a draft.
Yeah, you'd waste a whole weekend just sitting in front of two.
Yeah, and I get why the NFL did it, and I think I am more in favor of.
It's all prime time and commercials, and
I just wish things would get a little quicker, a little snappier with the picks, and even one team got. The NFL's mad at a certain team for picking their pick too fast. We'll talk about that when we get there.
I did see something about that. You can expound on that.
Yeah, there's not much to expound upon. I mean, it's all good, but we'll get to it when we talk draft. Talk about
okay, all right. We come to you each week from the World of Football Man Cave, located right here in the center of the football world, Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. Our goal is to inform and entertain our listeners with the glorious buffet that is the world of football, while keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. Thanks for checking out our podcast. We'd love to get your feedback on one of our many platforms: Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube, where we post the entire audio portion of this show, as well as other selected videos.
When we get around to them, apparently.
Yeah, when we get around to
We were just getting into an argument about that before the show, so.
Shh, quiet. So, let's begin today's show with Adam and the World of Football scoreboard.
Wait, there were scores? I thought all that was happening this last week.
No, there were actually games going on during the NFL draft.
Well, that's a mistake, it sounds like. I don't know if anybody was really watching them, but that's what we're here for, to inform you on these games that you probably weren't watching because you were too busy watching NFL draft coverage.
Right.
We had week 3 of the USFL happen this past weekend. Starting with Saturday's doubleheader, the Tampa Bay Bandits defeated the Houston Gamblers 27-26. And then the second game that Saturday, in a battle of undefeated teams, the Birmingham Stallions came out on top of the New Orleans Breakers 22-13. Then on Sunday, it was a battle of winless teams, which saw the Michigan Panthers shut out the Pittsburgh Maulers 24-0 for the first shutout in USFL history, or this iteration of the USFL history.
This season.
Yeah. Good to see the Michigan Panthers get a win. And boy, oh boy, what's wrong with the Pittsburgh Maulers? It's like they're cursed now. All of a sudden, you cut one guy for wanting a piece of pizza over a chicken salad, and now here you are, 0-3. And finally, the New Jersey Generals over the Philadelphia Stars, 24-16. And I saw a great USFL meme. There's apparently a USFL memes page out there on Twitter if you're looking for it, where I believe they said there's 3 teams. I think it's the Stallions, the Breakers, and the Gamblers. The Bandits have more wins, than combined than 2 teams from the state of Pennsylvania, and those 2 teams, obviously, the Philadelphia Stars at 1-2, and the Pittsburgh Maulers at 0-3. So
interesting,
or something like that. It was something weird where they were just pointing out that, the state of Pennsylvania is not doing too hot in the USFL.
Yeah, well.
So anyway, that brings us to the standings, I guess, in the USFL. In the north side of things, the Generals of New Jersey at 2-1, followed by the Philadelphia Stars and Michigan Panthers at 1-2 apiece, and the Pittsburgh Maulers at 0-3. And then in the South, the undefeated Birmingham Stallions at 3-0, followed by the New Orleans Breakers and Tampa Bay Bandits at 2-1, and the Houston Gamblers with a 1-2 record. So that's it for the USFL, and we move on to Week 8 of the Indoor Football League, which had games Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. On Friday night, it was the Sioux Falls Storm over the Iowa Barnstormers in a close game, 50-47. On Saturday, as part of a triple-header, the Arizona Rattlers took out the Frisco Fighters 49-35. The Quad City Steamwheelers took out the Green Bay Blizzard 49-31. And the Tucson Sugar Skulls squeaked by the Duke City Gladiators 42-41. Then on Sunday's triple-header, the Vegas Nighthawks got a win over the Massachusetts Pirates, the defending champions, in a close game 46-44. The Northern Arizona Wranglers continued their winning ways over the Bay Area Panthers 65-34. And finally, the San Diego Strike Force defeated the Bismarck Bucks 38-28.
Yeah, no bye weeks for anybody this week.
No bye weeks this week.
All
all
teams were in action.
Yeah, and then this leads over into the standings. We're in the East Division or Conference. I don't even know if they call it a division or conference.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But the Frisco Fighters sit at the top with a 5-2 record, followed by the defending champion Massachusetts Pirates at 4-2. The Quad City Steamwheelers and Sioux Falls Storm sit next up with 4-3 records. The Iowa Barnstormers sit at 500 at 3-3. The Bismarck Bucks at 3-4, and then to round out the East, the Green Bay Blizzards sit at 2-5. Over in the West, the Arizona Rattlers are the only unbeaten team in the league with a 6-0 record, followed by the Northern Arizona Wranglers at 4-2. And we keep talking about their turnaround from last season, where I don't think they won more than 2 games anyway.
Yeah,
Here
they were pretty bad last year. They're right up there in the top of their the West Division this year.
But how about this? 3 teams at the top of the West are all Arizona teams, because number 3 in the West is the Tucson Sugar Skulls at 3-3. Followed by the Vegas Nighthawks, at 3-4. The San Diego Strike Force at 2-4. The Duke City Gladiators fall to 2-5, and the Bay Area Panthers sit at 1-6. And now we throw it over to Randy for the champions indoor football scores.
Yes, CIF action for Week 8. All 6 teams were in action this week, 8 teams. We had the Southwest Kansas Storm defeating the Topeka Tropics 31-18. It was the Sioux City Bandits over the Omaha Beef 60-49. The Salina Liberty over the Rapid City Marshals 55-7. Boy, that was a beatdown. And lastly, the Billings Outlaws over the Wyoming Mustangs 45-29. Those were all Saturday games last week. So a quick look at the standings in the CIF. The Sioux City Bandits are at 5-0. Billings Outlaws at 4-1, Southwest Kansas Storm 4-2, Salina Liberty 3-2, Omaha Beef 3-3, Wyoming Mustangs 2-4, Rapid City Marshals 1-4, and the lowly Topeka Tropics at 0-6. Every team has a different record.
I was just gonna say, yeah.
That's why I kind of hesitated halfway through. I'm going, these guys all have the same. They're a different record. Nobody's got the exact same record this year.
Because they all got different amount of games played. Some have 5, some have 6.
Yep. Interesting.
It's all over the place, and with these smaller leagues like this, they have weird bye weeks where they kind of cycle through teams. So, and didn't one team leave? I forget with the CIF. So.
I don't recall this year.
It's always a big blur.
All right, moving on to the National Arena League scores. This is Week 2 in the NAL. All 6 teams in action this week. The Carolina Cobras over the Orlando Predators, 48-26. It was the Albany Empire over the Jacksonville Sharks, 61-60 in overtime.
What a thriller!
One team scored 6 points in overtime, and the other one scored 7. So I don't know if the first team went for 2 and didn't get it, or they missed the extra point. I don't know. I'm not sure. I didn't look up all the details on that. But a 1-point win in overtime for the Albany Empire. And finally, the Columbus Lions squeaked by the San Antonio Gunslingers by the score of 46-45. Another close one. And
a big difference between being a team at 500 or a team at 0-2 or even being undefeated. So,
so looking at the standings in the National Arena League, the Carolina Cobras and the Columbus Lions are at 2-0. The Albany Empire and the Orlando Predators are at 1-1. The Jacksonville Sharks and the San Antonio Gunslingers are both at 0-2. And that is it for this week's World of Football scoreboard. Lots of scores, lots of games going on out there, but nobody cared about any of that. It was all about the NFL draft this past weekend. So let's delve into that. The number one, in the draft, there were 9 trades and 10 teams did not have a pick in the first round.
What a crazy first round this was. I mean, between, a guy going number 1 that some people might have thought, was going to go number 1, but weren't sure.
Right. There were like 3 guys that could have been any one of them.
Right. But I mean, for the longest time, it was Aiden Hutchinson was kind of talked about as the de facto.
Yep.
No matter what happens, he's number 1.
Yep.
I don't know what happened in that Jacksonville building, but that domino effect, obviously affected Detroit. But also, the 9 trades, which I think they said was a record.
Yeah.
6 wide receivers were taken in the first round of the draft. 1 quarterback. Taken.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me. I mean, usually you think you might get 2 in there. There was a second quarterback, Malik Willis. We were waiting to see where he fell to, and he fell completely out of the first round. Fell out of the second round. So it's just a crazy, crazy first round.
Yeah, most of the quarterbacks all went in the latter rounds.
Yeah.
There was a run on quarterbacks towards the end, but yeah, it's obvious that nobody really was looking for that number 1 starting quarterback anymore.
I think between that and just that value of quarterback, I think teams just were like, we have other needs as opposed to a quarterback.
Right.
If this guy falls to us, great. If not, we'll see what happens. But I think Pittsburgh had always wanted Pickett, as part of their draft plan.
Because he played right there in Pittsburgh.
They did. They
knew
think
him.
Peter King was talking on Colin Cowherd about his the story of Kenny Pickett. The Panthers facility is right next to the Pittsburgh Steelers facility, and he's like, the one thing Kenny Pickett's going to have to get used to now is instead of using the right door, he's going to have to walk 4 feet to the left and use the left door to enter the Steelers facility. So I'm waiting to hear a great story about him accidentally walking into a Pitt Panthers meeting and being like, "Oh crap, that's right, I'm over with the Steelers." So what a cool story for him. That's cool to see, and a lot of hometown guy stories.
Yeah.
At least a couple of big ones to note, which are great for a draft. You don't want that to be why they drafted a kid. You want the right guy, the right fit, and I think a couple of these teams got the right hometown guy. But do you want to talk about the top of the draft?
Well, yeah. I mean, Jacksonville, of course, took defensive end Trayvon Walker from Georgia, and while he's not a hometown guy, I mean, he's like one state over from where he's going to be playing professionally. And then at the number 2 pick, defensive end Aiden Hutchinson, who you and I both really wanted to go to Detroit.
I'd been a Thibodeau. Kayvon Thibodeau guy since about midway through the season when he was wrecking shop during the college football season. I was like, there he is. That's the future Detroit Lion right there. And then towards the end, Hutchinson's name started getting brought up. He ended up second in Heisman voting.
Yeah, and you start falling into all this talk.
And being in Michigan, it doesn't help.
Supposed experts, But yeah,
and being in Michigan, being surrounded by Michigan, University of Michigan fans, all the hype around Hutchinson, was just like, okay, guys, let's settle down. I didn't think Hutchinson was all that great, but clearly, I'm not saying he wasn't untalented. I was like, yeah, he's a top 5 pick for sure. I'm no draft expert, so what do I know? But I've been sticking with Thibodeau because usually every year when it comes draft time, how many times do you sit there and go, who? I don't know any of these college guys. Yeah. So unless you're really paying attention to college football, you really don't know who your team's drafting. Your opinion is based on usually the average NFL fan. Their opinion is based on what highlight packages ESPN or the NFL Network put together for the kid you just drafted, what their quote-unquote experts have to say about the guy, his intangibles, his combine tape, his pro day tape,
size of his hand,
all that
and
stuff,
how high he can jump, and all that crap.
Whatever. So I'm not going to pretend like I am a big expert on who the Lions should have drafted. All I know is I saw Thibodeau playing. He was a name I heard for most of the year, and I was like, that's the guy. If I keep hearing his name, there's a reason I keep hearing his name. Mm-hmm. Then towards the end of the year, we started hearing a lot about Hutchinson. So I was like, you know what? Hutchinson would be my second, pick if I were to go. But it just seemed like Hutchinson had more intangibles. Yes, he's the local guy, but I think Detroit ended up with the guy they wanted, obviously, because they got yelled at by the league. This is what we were talking about earlier. They got yelled at by the league for putting their pick in too fast. And I guess that threw off their rhythm for how not cutting to commercials but doing a lot of stuff, because usually they want teams to at the beginning of the draft wait a little bit,
give us time to pontificate on everything.
It's the beginning of the draft, we gotta sell it all the different media outlets and stuff, let everything kind of soak in and then get to the next pick. But Detroit apparently way too quick. They were like, Hutchinson just fell into our lap. You bet your butt we're gonna put our thing in right now. And I do the same thing. That's what I don't get.
Well, just because Detroit puts the pick in, they don't have to announce it right away. If they want to take that whole 15 minutes, even though the pick's in, they're gonna sit on it if they want to. What are they?
But I do get that, because then you know what that also makes, like, even though it shows, I think behind the scenes, it messes a lot of stuff up, because then now you had the Texans on the clock way sooner than expected. So then the domino effect just keeps. What if all these teams keep doing it, and then we're sitting here watching TV, and we just got Trayvon Walker, he wasn't at the draft, but you got him being announced, that all the people are talking about him, and then in the background though, with all the GMs, we're down already at the Jets pick. We're 3 picks in. So I think they really do that so teams don't leak stuff, or so stuff doesn't get out before they can do the whole fanfare of it. But whatever. I think it's a minor thing. Teams should be able to get the pick in like that. And
well, I was thinking that maybe the NFL was telling Jacksonville, don't pick a guy that's not here for your number 1 pick. We want to have the guy come out. That's our big media time. Here's the number 1 pick in the draft. There he is standing next to the commissioner with the number 1 jersey. They didn't get that this year. The guy was at home. That's his decision. Yeah. But I think, the league is so image conscious that I think they were a little disappointed that didn't happen. So
instead, the number 2 overall pick.
Right. So who got all the attention? It was Hutchinson,
who should have been the number 1 pick overall.
So every time you saw
anyway.
a highlight, they didn't show a highlight of Trayvon Walker at home. They showed a highlight of Aiden Hutchinson coming out with the hat on, with the jersey, hugging the commissioner. That's what the NFL wants their image to be for the NFL draft, not a guy sitting at home. That's just my opinion. Yeah. But then I was totally surprised that Detroit moved up from number 32 to number 12 with a trade with the Vikings.
So funny story there was, I hung around watching the draft with you.
That's right.
Because I had to work the next day. So I was like, well, I better get to bed at some point. So I was just kind of waiting. I was like, I kind of want to see the Commanders pick, just because I haven't heard, nobody's heard at an NFL draft before, the Washington Commanders select with the whatever pick. So I was like, okay, I'd like to see who the Commanders' first pick is as the Commanders. And then they traded out of that to the Saints, and I'm sitting there like, all right, well, they moved back a few spots. I'm just going to go to bed, whatever. And then I'm like halfway about to leave. Literally, I'm across the room, and I hear, and the Lions have traded up. And I'm like, what now?
Yeah, because they had the 32nd pick.
They had the 32nd pick.
The trade with the Rams for Stafford.
So they move up 20 picks to this. And I'm like, oh, God, please don't be a quarterback. Please do not be a quarterback. And, of course, they traded up and got the wide receiver out of Georgia and Jameson Williams, who had the ACL tear in the
I had forgotten that
game.
until you reminded me of that. But, yeah, I remember watching the game, and he was having a great game, and then got injured on a play, and went to the locker room and came out with his shoulder pads off, and he was done and tore his ACL. And that's what we got. And my first thought was, oh, my gosh, we're getting damaged goods already. I just hope he's able to recover and be a great player for many years for us. Right. But that's always my first, because I've seen it so many times in the past. They pick a guy, higher than he should have been because he was injured in college. Maybe he comes back, maybe he doesn't. More often than not, it has not worked out well for Detroit. And that's the history that I'm aware of because I've seen it.
Yeah.
So I was a little disappointed, but if he works out, great. But seeing those two guys, we've seen a lot of videos of them being interviewed, at the Lions facility, and they're at the draft. And I came to this conclusion the other day. Aiden Hutchinson is such an outgoing guy. He's willing to talk to anybody, and he makes a good interview. And then you've got Jameson Williams, I'm sorry. And
Jameson, sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Williams. And he reminds me a little bit of Ricky Williams. How he used to give interviews with his helmet on because he was, afraid to talk to people, and he was very uncomfortable in situations where he had to be interviewed by people, and that is what Williams reminds me of a little bit. He's got the hair in his face. He's kind of hiding behind that. Some of his answers are very short, just very opposite in their personalities.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
No, but I'm just saying that Ricky Williams did have a little bit of a problem with that, and people kind of didn't understand it at the time. That he
after we had Marshawn Lynch, who didn't give interviews anyway. As great of a personality as he is, I get it. Like, I don't want to have a microphone shoved in my face and answer every little stupid question. So I get that. And with him, there was a great moment of him with all the Detroit fans that were at the draft. Him celebrating with them when he got picked, and all the speculation, just because he has that kind of laid back, just like not really showing a whole lot of emotion on his face, demeanor that people took it as, he was upset that he went to Detroit and blah blah blah. Yeah. I'm maybe not. Is it Detroit the first place you want to go? Maybe not, but they're the team that picked you. They wanted you. They moved up to get you, and I think that says something. And I think he let him heal up, and I think he's going to be in a good spot where the Detroit's got some wide receivers. And, of course, Detroit's not the only team that drafted. We're obviously the Lions fans, so we could talk about the Lions draft all the live long day. I know you put all their picks on the rundown.
Yeah, if you want to talk about them, that's fine.
I mean, there's just so much else to the draft.
Most of these guys I'd never heard of. The Kirby Joseph, I think, from Illinois, our third-round pick, they were showing him doing backflips when he was in college. Yeah, I think he's the one that was doing that. So I'm looking for a lot of that in the NFL.
I think the Lions did another solid draft. We'll see how it plays out. We never know until the season gets going. There could be a couple of diamonds in the rough here. We could have a couple of duds. We don't know. Yep. But there's just so much to get to with this draft. Like, I want to throw real quick before we start getting to your bullet points that the draft started off with 5 defensive players back to back to back, 5 players in a row. Mm-hmm. Then it was 5 straight offensive players after that. So this whole draft was about runs. It was about, a lot of defense taken this year. And, I think a lot of these prospects are going to be a lot of fun to see what happens with them and all these different situations they found themselves in. So, anyway, let's get to your bullet points.
Yeah. No, last thing I want to say about the draft is
can't segue worth
Detroit
the crap
picked
with you.
up 3 edge rushers.
Oh my God, we just talked about this. We need to get off the Lions. Nobody cares about the Lions draft.
But I think we got to the positions that we needed. We got a quarterback, a linebacker, a tight end. We always use an extra tight end. A safety, a wide receiver, and 3 edge rushers. So I think it was a good draft for Detroit. Hopefully they'll work out.
Every team feels like they had a great draft. You're not the only one.
And every year it's a crapshoot. You won't know for several years if this draft worked out or not. But okay, let's move on to some other stuff. Ed Marinaro, the
name nobody will forget anytime soon.
Familiar with him. I'm at least familiar with him. Yeah. He went to an Ivy League school, and he played a little bit in the NFL.
I'll tell you this, though. His mic skills are something.
He's been out of the limelight for a long time. He's most famous for starring in a TV show called Hill Street Blues, which was a cop show back in the 80s or 90s. I never really watched it, but I was familiar with him. He comes out to do the second-round draft pick, to announce the second-round draft pick for the Vikings, who he played for many years ago. And he just went on and on. I'm sure you can find that. I think I posted I don't know if it's the whole video, but I think he talked for 4 minutes. And normally it's basically you go up there and you're there for less than 30 seconds. You're in and out. You make a couple of comments, whatever, and you announce the pick, and you're done. And that's all the NFL wanted. He was up there just talking and talking about his career and his life, and it was so funny when one of the producers, and I think her name was Carly something. I never heard her last name, but she was one of the NFL producers producing this production, and she actually had to go over and ask him, please just read the pick, would you? and so he's become a big joke after that, but that was just so funny to watch that. And even on the second day, the guys that were
that was the second day. This happened on day 2.
The third day. On the third day, the Vikings had another pick, and they knew that the pick was in, and nobody was coming out, and Rich Eisen said something like, "Can we get Ed Marinaro back up there? Wouldn't it be funny if he would just come out and start up where he left off?" Now let's see, where was I when I was last up here? Yeah. And so it just was the whole joke of the weekend.
I mean, I get where he was coming from. Like, okay, you're asked to be a presenter at the draft. Right. It's fun. It's exciting. For him, like you said, hadn't been on the limelight in a while. But I think he kind of got soaked into there were a bunch of Packers fans. He was kind of,
ripping on the Packers.
He was getting sucked into the moment, and it just, time was flying by.
He didn't know when to quit.
He didn't know when to stop. He was just on a roll, and God bless the lady's heart who had to, do I do something? Okay, I guess I better go out there.
I'm surprised that she hasn't become a big celebrity since then. Like I said, all I know is that they mentioned her name was Carly. Don't know her last name. Don't know anything about her. Don't know how long she's been with the NFL Network. This might have been the first thing she's ever done for the network producing the NFL draft this year. Or she could have been there for a long time. I don't know, but I'm really surprised that she's not everywhere, on every talk show, on Good Morning Football. She should be everywhere right now after
her
this
name is
weekend.
Ashton Ramberg.
Where are you getting that from?
I'm reading this from an article from Pro Football Talk. Enter Ashton Ramberg, who walked to the podium and politely told Marinero to just read the dang card. So, yes. So,
well, Rich Eisen, I think.
Well, Rich Eisen's wrong.
Said her name was Carly. And then they did
Maybe that's a nickname. I don't know.
They did a bit on the last day also where, who was it? One of the experts they had was talking about, they were doing a thing called Stump the Truck, and he
great draft segment.
Yeah, and he threw out a name that he knew they wouldn't have because the guy, nobody knew that he pulled out of the draft or whatever. He knew that, and they didn't. Adam Schefter? Was it Adam Schefter?
Know.
But anyway, they made a joke where I think it was the same girl came over and on camera and just grabbed him and took him off.
Oh, that was
stage.
Rappaport. Okay, I know
yeah, Ian Rappaport. But yeah, so I don't know if that was the same girl or not. It looked like her, but I don't know if it was. But yeah, that was the highlight of the whole draft for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Was her coming out and telling him. They also announced that the first Amazon Prime game this season was going to be a game on Thursday, September 15th, where the Kansas City Chiefs are going to host the San Diego Chargers. So I think that's in week 2 of the season.
Yep. Hold on, what team are they hosting?
San Diego Chargers?
There is no such team. They are the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yes. Okay. I'll put $1 in the mispronounced team jar.
Man, we can go get like some McDonald's with all the money in that jar now.
It used to be a pay toilet.
$2 burgers. He's gonna sneeze. Anyway, somebody else who we were anxiously waiting on as Kalamazoo natives was Western Michigan wide receiver Sky Moore. We were kind of hoping and having our fingers crossed that maybe he could fall to Detroit in the second round.
Yeah.
For the longest time. But then after Detroit moved up and got Williams,
right,
we were like, well, I bet you wide receivers out of the cards now. And boy, I feel great for Sky Moore because he's landing in a great spot. He gets to go play with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, taken in the second round. So good for him.
Yeah.
Another player from Western Michigan, Caleb Ellerbee, the quarterback, is getting invited to camp. He was an undrafted free agent this year. Yep. He's going to go to Seattle's camp and be out there. So best of luck to him and Sky Moore. I mean,
yeah, there's a total of 9 players from Western Michigan that all either got signed by teams after the draft or got invited to training camps. So that to me, that's a great showing for Western Michigan. 10 players.
To have a Western Michigan guy drafted and no players from the University of Texas drafted is insane.
I didn't know that.
That was another number. Yeah, Texas had 0 players drafted.
I did
this
not
year.
know that.
Right? Isn't that crazy that a Western kid got drafted and a Longhorn was not drafted?
Yeah, well, they said
bonkers to me.
They said the Sky Moore had a great combine.
He's got great tape. We saw him in person. I thought he was phenomenal. He's just a fast.
Yep.
He could probably be like a Golden Tate type, like quick guy. Got great hands. So I'm very excited to see what he does with the Chiefs. He might be really good on people's fantasy teams. Just throwing that out there.
He was projected possibly late first round.
He probably could have gone late first. Like I bet you if Detroit didn't move, like do any of the trades, and I kept the 32 and the 34, I almost guarantee you Sky Moore would have been maybe Detroit's pick there at 34. Hard to say because of the guy they ended up taking, a good defensive end. But hey, I'm very happy for the Western Michigan kids.
Yep. All right, and then the Steelers selected tight end Connor Haywood out of Michigan State in the 6th round. This gives the Steelers 4 pairs of brothers on that team. They already had his brother Cameron Haywood. Let's see who else did they had. They had 3 other pairs. They had TJ and Derek Watt, whose 3rd brother is JJ Watt with the Arizona Cardinals. And then there was Trey and Terrell Edmonds, and Tremaine Edmonds is with the Buffalo Bills. And then you've got Carlos and Khalil Davis. So 4 sets of brothers playing on the Steelers team? That's crazy.
That is crazy.
I didn't even know they had 3. I mean,
but seeing Cameron Hayward talk about I guess I know who my roommate's going to be when camp comes around this year. So that's great to see that.
But yeah, and 3 brothers,
3 other sets of brothers already on the team.
Yeah. 2 other sets with a 3rd brother. Wow, that is just incredible.
Keep it in the family, and the Steelers, you can't complain. I mean, they're getting results. I mean, the Watts are great. Edmonds, I believe those guys were great, and the Davises contributed. So I'm not familiar with the Davises on the team, but I mean, come on, the Steelers are usually pretty good in and out. So
sure. Let's see. According to my numbers, there were a total of 38 compensatory picks sprinkled throughout the draft this year, and there were 9 of them in the 7th round alone. So that made for a pretty big draft. And the 47th Mr. Irrelevant, number 262 in the draft, the 49ers picked quarterback Brock Purdy out of Iowa State. And what's significant about this is that the Mr. Irrelevant founder, Paul Salata, actually played for the 49ers in 1949 and part of 1950 before he got traded to the Baltimore Colts, I think. But he also spent 3 seasons playing in the CFL with the Calgary Stampeders and the Ottawa Rough Riders. He passed away in 2021, so his wife and his daughter were there to present the Mr. Irrelevant Award this year. So that was pretty cool that the guy that invented the award actually played for the 49ers. They had the pick and took a quarterback this year. So, yeah, we always like to see, do these Mr. Irrelevants actually make it on the team? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Nobody's really had a fantastic career, but some of them have some, they play for a few years, they put up some numbers and then they're done.
Yeah.
But next year's draft is going to be in Kansas City, and then after that, 2024, it's coming to Detroit.
Oh, boy.
I'm telling you, we need to go to Detroit, find that countdown clock that they've got in the park where it's going to be, and get our picture taken sometime this summer.
Oh, yeah, 700 days till the draft. Yeah.
It'll be a big event. I'm telling you. All right, let's move on to some CFL news. They came out last week with 9 rule changes for the upcoming season. The biggest one in my mind is that they're moving the hash marks in. Now they're going to be 9 yards apart instead of 17 yards apart.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big field they got out there, and the thinking behind this is to get the ball more to the center of the field so that, if you're on one side of the hash mark or the other,
you still got a lot of field to play with.
You've got an equal amount of space on each side. It's not a huge...
Well, I think it's just more space on either side because,
right.
The way the CFL offenses are structured, you got a big enough field already. They move a lot of guys around, so I think it's just to open the field up a lot more. So more, explosive plays. Guys, there's a lot of speedy dudes in the CFL. So, guys probably see a lot more, wide receivers just getting that yardage and, cutting through defenses.
I don't think a lot of people will really notice it that much. I mean, the CFL diehards will notice the difference where the hash mark's at. For the rest of us here in the States watching the game, I don't think we'll be that much aware of it.
Probably not,
but I think it's important.
I'll want to keep an eye on it now.
Yeah.
Just to see.
And I think it's a good change, too. I think it's a good change that will even things up so that you're not way over to one side of the field and have not much room on the left and a lot on the right. Mm-hmm. This way, it just kind of evens it out a little bit more, where there's not that big of a difference depending on where they mark you between the hash marks. Another rule is after a successful field goal or a single point, known as a rouge, drives will start from the 40-yard line instead of the 35-yard line. Teams kicking off for any reason will do so from their 30-yard line instead of the 35-yard line. The only exception is kickoffs following a safety. They will now occur from the 20-yard line instead of the 25-yard line. So that's kind of a minor little thing. Again, most people won't even think twice about it when they see that, but I thought that was an important rule. Another thing is they're going to allow 2 quarterbacks on the field at the same time, which will allow for additional imaginative play calling, they say. But it's not like you're going to have 2 quarterbacks lined up. Which one's going to get the ball from center on a shotgun. I think it's just going to be they're going to have a quarterback either in the backfield or lined up as a tight end. They can make a pass to the sideline, not a forward pass, but a backwards pass to the sideline, and have a quarterback out there that can just heave it down the field if they really need a long completion. So I think it's going to be good that they'll throw 2 quarterbacks out there every now and then. So I thought that was very interesting that they did that. Here's another one: an automatic ejection for any player guilty of 2 unnecessary roughness penalties or 2 objectionable conduct penalties. They're not even going to talk about it anymore. You get flagged for one, you do it again, you are out of here, and that's all there is to it. I like that. I like that a lot. And there were a few others, but if you want to see the complete list, we're not going to go through the rest of them. They were just, timing things and whatnot. But if you want to read the entire list, you can go to our Twitter feed. I posted a link there last week to an article that's got all the details on all the rules if you're really interested in that. And last thing on our CFL list is that today is the CFL Draft.
AKA the conference call.
Yeah, yep, the annual conference call where the Edmonton Eskimos have the number 1 pick. I don't know if that's going on right now or not. I'm not sure if it's like later on tonight. I'll bet it's like 6 o'clock tonight or something. I don't know exactly, but we'll have all the results from the CFL Draft next week on our show.
Let me open up the CFL app and see if they got anything on there.
And they might have a countdown clock going for when the draft starts. But every year it's nothing like the NFL Draft. It's a conference call, but they do have some coverage where once the picks are announced, the studio will get the information and they'll have some highlights of that person playing or whatever. What I think is interesting is that they're only drafting Canadian citizens because this is the Canadian football draft. But a lot of these kids are playing for universities and colleges here in the States. So you'll look down the list of these guys. Of course, you don't recognize a lot of the names, but you might recognize somebody from BYU, or a few years ago was a guy from Western Michigan that got selected by Calgary. And it's interesting to see where they're getting these kids from, as much as who they are.
And that draft will take place tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay.
On TSN up there in Canada.
So 4 hours from now.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Okay, that's it for the CFL talk. Arena Football TV on YouTube. Oh, this is a great one. From 2002, the Chicago Rush at our Grand Rapids Rampage. And I was at this game. I remember this.
Did they end up winning this game?
I don't want to say.
Because
Because
I wasn't there for this one.
No, you were not there. But I took your younger brother and your sister with me to this game. Grand Rapids was the defending Arena Bowl champions at the time. And what's the interesting feature on this game is that there was a penalty flag thrown on the coin toss. I had never seen that before in NFL, CFL. Never have I seen a penalty flag on a coin toss before. But after they did the coin toss, they got talking amongst each other, the players in the middle of the field, and they started pushing and shoving each other, and they were just ready to fight. They threw a penalty on Grand Rapids, who received the kick. And so after the kickoff, which always comes from the goal line regardless, then they penalized Grand Rapids 10, 15 yards or whatever before their first actual play of the game. And they went down, attempted a field goal and missed it, and so it got returned. But we stopped them like inside the 5-yard line. So, but I distinctly remember that game as the game where there was a penalty on the coin toss. Now, on the video, you don't actually see that because when they come back from a commercial, it had already happened, but they talk about it. And as soon as they started talking about it, I absolutely remember that. It was Michael Baker was the one that got into a shoving match with somebody from the Rush. And, it was a very memorable game that day. So check that out on Arena Football TV on YouTube. Their newest game from 2002, Chicago Rush at the Grand Rapids Rampage. All right, we do have one birthday today that we're going to talk about. May 3rd, linebacker Dave Robinson turns 81 years old today. He played his college football at Penn State. He was the 14th overall pick in the 1963 NFL Draft by the Green Bay Packers. He was also a third-round pick in the 1963 AFL Draft by the San Diego Chargers, and that was San Diego Chargers back then, not Los Angeles Chargers.
I wasn't going to correct you.
He played 12 NFL seasons. He was with the Packers from 63 to 72. He was with the Washington Redskins from 73 to 74, and he won 2 Super Bowls, the first 2 Super Bowls with the Packers, Super Bowls 1 and 2, and he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2013. So happy birthday, Mr. Robinson. All right, now we have a couple of obituaries. This is where we take a moment to honor those who've made the world of football a better place. The first obituary is that of Eric Barnes, a defensive back in the NFL for 14 seasons. He's passed away at the age of 86. Barnes played college football at Purdue and was selected in the 4th round of the 1958 NFL Draft by the Chicago Bears. He played for the Bears from 1958 to 1960 and was then traded to the New York Giants, where he played from 1961 to 1964. In his first season with the Giants, he tied an NFL record when he intercepted a pass against the Dallas Cowboys and returned it 102 yards for a touchdown. He finished his playing career with the Cleveland Browns from 1965 to 1971. Barnes was inducted into the Indiana Football Hall of Fame in 1986 and the Purdue University Intercollegiate Athletic Hall of Fame in 2009. That's a mouthful there. Purdue University Intercollegiate Athletic Hall of Fame.
All right, our second obituary is that of Quincy Williams, a defensive end in the Canadian Football League for 6 seasons, has passed away at the age of 61. Williams played his college football at Auburn. He went on to play for the Calgary Stampeders in 1987 and 1988, as well as the Winnipeg Blue Bombers from 1989 to 1992. He won a Grey Cup title with the Blue Bombers in 1990.
Our last obituary this week is that of Ralph Deloach. I'm going to say Deloach. 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 A former defensive end in the NFL, he has passed away at the age of 65. Deloach played college football at the University of California and was selected in the 4th round of the 1979 NFL Draft by the Dallas Cowboys, but he did not make the team. In 1981, he signed with the New York Jets and appeared in just one game that season. It kind of reminds you of the guy from Field of Dreams, the young kid that had one at-bat in the major leagues and then never played again. And you've seen that movie, haven't you?
Which one? The
Field of Dreams?
Field of Dreams? Yeah.
Okay. I think you just saw it recently for the first time.
Yeah, for the first time I saw it, last year?
Yeah. But, yeah, that's kind of what this guy reminds me of. He was there. He made a team a few years after he was drafted and got into one game in his whole career. So, kind of sad, but, not everybody that gets drafted always makes the team, as we'll find out with some of our draft picks this year. Okay, anything else that you wanted to mention before we go into our history lesson this week?
Nope. Other than I, was just scrolling through Twitter looking for football news, and a couple Lions tidbits after the draft. The Lions only have one player above the age of 30 on their roster, and that is defensive end Michael Brockers at age 31, which is crazy to me. And something else. You got a trivia game from your weekend at the Pro Football Researchers Association. No, you got that from your brother-in-law, didn't you?
Or no, my brother.
Your brother, sorry. Your brother, not brother-in-law. A fun football quiz game where it comes with a little bell, like you ring the bell at the hotel desk. Mm-hmm. Well, if we had that here, I'd ask you this question. There are only 2 quarterbacks to have 45-plus wins and 20,000 yards passing over the last 5 seasons. Can you name them?
Over the last 5 seasons?
Yes, only 2 quarterbacks.
I'm going to say Brady and Mahomes.
You have half of that right. Thomas Brady, 45-plus wins, 20,000 yards. The second, Jared Goff. Which is crazy because last year he only got 3 wins. And he still qualified for 45-plus wins and 20,000 yards. Let that sink in, everybody.
Well, what you're saying about Detroit having only one player over 31, my thought is if they can be a good team now, they'll be a good team for a long time because they'll be young and they'll have many years to continue being good. But if they're not good anytime soon, then it doesn't matter. That's just my thought.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Like I said, the draft is such a crapshoot. It is literally a lottery. You don't know who's going to show up.
Don't know for years.
Who's going to be, pick 199 like Tom Brady and be the greatest player of all time. Are we going to get those? Who's going to be a big bust? You never know.
Yeah. Yep. And injury plays a lot of it, too.
Injury does. Like you said,
never know.
It is worrisome. The Lions took a couple of guys with scary injuries, and we just got to wait and see, if they get back healthy and how they perform.
Yeah.
So you're taking... It's a crapshoot all over the place.
Yeah, you take a gamble.
You're taking a gamble. Maybe it'll pay off. If it pays off, the reward is high. So, but the risk, is also high. You gave up a first-round pick on a guy that may or may not ever recover from this injury. Yeah. So,
yep.
That's football sometimes.
Yeah.
Also life.
All right. This week's history lesson, I thought it was really good that Arena Football TV on YouTube had a Rampage game, because that goes right into this week's history lesson. And this week we have a story about the 2005 Grand Rapids Rampage and a roll of toilet paper. The Arena Football League played its first season in 1987. Over the next several years, the league expanded into a number of large cities like Nashville, Phoenix, Orlando, Detroit, and Dallas. But in 1998, a team was added in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which had a population of around 190,000 people at the time. And they played in the smallest arena in the league. The Van Andel Arena held about 10,000 fans for AFL games, while other arenas in the league had capacities of 15 to 20,000 or more. The Grand Rapids Rampage posted a 3-11 record in their first season, but they made the playoffs the next 2 years in 1999 and 2000. However, they lost in the first round of the playoffs both of those years. Then, in 2001, the Rampage signed quarterback Clint Dolezal. The team immediately began winning games and rolled through their schedule to an 11-3 record, the best in the league that season, securing home field advantage throughout the playoffs. In the first round of the playoffs, the Rampage hosted the Chicago Rush and won 53-21. Next came the Indiana Firebirds and an 83-70 victory. This put Grand Rapids in Arena Bowl 15, where they hosted the Nashville Cats. A sellout crowd of 11,217 fans, the smallest in Arena Bowl history at the time, saw the Rampage defeat the Cats 64-42. AFL Commissioner David Baker was on hand, and after the game, he announced to the crowd, "Grand Rapids, you are a major league city." The Rampage made the playoffs the next 2 seasons, but lost both years in the first round. Dolezal left Grand Rapids after the 2003 season and joined the Las Vegas Gladiators. The 2004 Rampage team posted a dismal 1-15 record. When it came time for season ticket renewals for the 2005 season, the team sent out rolls of toilet paper to all the current season ticket holders. Wrapped in plastic, the label said, "Let's put last season behind us." Each square of toilet paper had 1-15 printed on it. It was a clever way to acknowledge the bad season and also plan for better things during the upcoming season. Grand Rapids made an improbable return to the playoffs in 2008 after posting a less than stellar 6-10 regular season record. They beat the Arizona Rattlers on the road in the first round 48-41, and the Chicago Rush on the road in the second round 58-41. Their miracle playoff run ended 1 game short of going to a second Arena Bowl when they lost on the road to the San Jose SaberCats 81-55. It turned out to be the last game the Rampage ever played, as the Arena Football League folded after the 2008 season. However, the AFL had its own developmental league, Arena Football 2, also known as AF2, and it continued to play in 2009. The AF2 had been around since 2000. In 2010, the AF2 rebranded itself as the Arena Football League and fielded 15 teams, which consisted of a combination of current AF2 teams and revived AFL teams. Unfortunately, Grand Rapids was not one of the revived AFL teams. The new AFL lasted until 2019, when it folded once again. The final AFL championship game was Arena Bowl 32. The Albany Empire defeated the Philadelphia Soul 45-27. The Soul head coach was none other than former Rampage quarterback Clint Dolezal. The Grand Rapids Rampage existed for 11 seasons, from 1998 to 2008, and won Arena Bowl 15 in 2001. But a bad season in 2004 led to one of the greatest promotions in sports history. A roll of toilet paper that season ticket holders could use to wipe away the memory of a bad season.
You know, at the time of you getting this as a season ticket member, this roll of toilet paper, you know, and it's been sitting on your shelf ever since.
I've never opened it.
17 years now.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about. Yeah. Never opened it. You probably could have made bank during the toilet paper shortage of 2020, but alas, you kept it on the shelf.
Yeah, still in pristine condition.
But just this was 3 years after that Arena Bowl, or 4 years after that Arena Bowl run. I mean, it's just crazy to think about how far they kind of fell from grace, and so far, in fact, that the front office had to apologize by giving everybody a roll of toilet paper, apparently. So.
But then, in 2008, like I said in the story, they came back and they won a couple of playoff games and were one step away from another Arena Bowl in 2008. When
despite being under 500,
they had a 6-10 record.
Yeah,
that
6-10, and still somehow managed to make it.
But that was an incredible playoff run, and oh man, I was so hoping that they'd make it back to another Arena Bowl.
Yeah,
it was a great.
But little did
run.
we know that was their last season.
That was going to be the end. Yep. Yep.
And now you can use that roll of toilet paper to wipe away those tears. Still,
Nope, it's staying on the shelf forever. Dust it every now and then, but it's not going anywhere. All right, upcoming events calendar. Tonight actually, the CFL Draft. The number 1 pick held by the Edmonton Eskimos.
Elks. Wow, you did it again. Throw another dollar in the jar.
The Edmonton Elks, yes. And I had Elks.
You said it with
down.
Such confidence.
I was looking right at it. I have Elks right on here, and
I guess that shouldn't surprise anybody who listened to last week's show or the week before, where you talked about airplane stewardesses. Should not surprise anybody.
As opposed to a flight attendant. Yeah.
You are all seeing Randy's true colors now.
My vocabulary is still back in the 60s.
You still calling the Commanders Redskins?
Probably. And the San Diego Chargers.
You already did that one today. Come on now.
Okay, continuing. May 12th, the full 2022 NFL schedule is going to be released.
Yep, looking forward to talking about that on...
Yeah, our podcast number 244 on May 17th. I will not be here for that. For some reason, my sons want to roast me on that day, I guess.
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. It might be,
Well, I hope you come away with some kind of appreciation for how much I do to get this podcast going every week.
Oh, please.
You'll have to do it.
Hold on. In typical millennial fashion, I'm just going to cut out all the bits I don't like that we do on this show and save them for you to do the next week. There won't be any obituaries. We're going to get to the meat of it.
I see. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. I'll try to do the bit. I understand that what you do is not easy, but I think I could do it with an arm tied behind my back.
Okay. All right.
We'll see. It'll probably be a train wreck.
Well, the next week you're going to be doing it with a rope around your neck.
Episode 244 will be the episode we never talk about.
Yeah, that'll be the lost episode that people will covet in years to come. Okay, and then Thursday, June 9th, the CFL regular season begins with a game between the Montreal Alouettes and the Calgary Stampeders. July 3rd is the USFL championship game
between
Canton,
the Michigan
Ohio.
Panthers and the somebody else.
Who's the other team that doesn't have a win yet?
The Maulers, but they're in the same division.
Yeah, well, whatever.
It'll be the Birmingham Stallions and the Michigan Panthers.
But we really should go to that game. I mean,
all those playoffs will be up here in Canton, or closer here, so I'm down.
We'll see.
I'm down for some playoffs.
We get closer, yeah. I mean, we wouldn't
just to
even
say you did it.
We wouldn't even have to spend the night, probably. I mean, it's like a 4-hour drive there and a 4-hour drive back. We used to go to arena games in Cleveland and just drive there, see the game, and then drive back.
And I'm sure, no offense, I'm sure the tickets will not be hard to get. We could probably buy them day of. I mean, if we find out the weather's crappy, we don't have to make the drive. Yeah. But yeah, you probably just walk into the ticket office that day.
I don't know. We'll see. I know some people who live in that area. Maybe they can, grab some tickets and we'll all go together. Who knows? And let's see. Finally, on our calendar, it's Thursday, August 4th, the Pro Football Hall of Fame game in Canton, the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Las Vegas Raiders.
Hold on, the upcoming events, and you're already reaching 3 months ahead on August 4th. Goodness gracious!
Because there's a little bit of everything. You
That's
got
not
USFL,
upcoming.
you got NFL, you've got
why
CFL.
Why not talk about the NFL playoff startup? On January, whatever.
No, I'm just going out to August 4th.
Yeah, 3 months. That's not upcoming. God.
But it's important.
God, your script's getting an overhaul when 244 happens.
All right. Anything else before we call this a show?
I don't know. What other things can I berate you for?
Nothing.
Nothing. I guess I got nothing.
All right. That's all the time we've got for this week. If you learned something during this podcast about the incredible amount of diversity that exists in the world of football, then we've done our job. Visit our website at theworldoffootball.com for news, links, upcoming events, videos, and more. Our email address is info@theworldoffootball.com.
You can also like The World of Football on Facebook at TWOF Kalamazoo. You can also follow our Twitter account. The address is at TWOF Kalamazoo. New episodes of this very podcast are posted on Tuesdays and are available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and our YouTube channel, which is The World of Football Kalamazoo. So please subscribe, rate, review to that. Leave us a comment. We haven't put up anything on there in a while. Hasn't really been a news item that we could go off and do our overtime segment the last few weeks. So
but you never know when something will pop up.
You never know. Something will pop up and we'll get to it. Like I said, we're still working out behind the scenes how we want to approach YouTube. We have two different philosophies, I guess, on how we should be doing that. But whatever. We'll get to it when we get to it, in the words of Randy. So yeah, let us know what you think. And please come be a part of the football conversation, which should also be telling Randy why he's wrong.
And remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than us two guys. We two guys? Us two guys? I'm not sure what the
I'm changing that part of the script now.
Yeah. Until next time, I'm Randy Snow.
And I'm Adam Snow.
And we'll see you all next week.